Hello, this is Brian, driving while ADHD. So this video is about establishing good habits, but I want to actually start off by having you think about a bad habit. And the reason for that is a bad habit has like 3 or 4 qualities that we should know about that will help us make a good habit. So just bear with me with the bad habit part, and then we'll get to forming a good habit. And when you walk away from this video, you should have like 3 things you can do that will help you. Okay, so let's start with the bad habit thinking. So this should be easy for all of us because, we all have bad habits, right? So some of them are going to be very easy to visualize. For example, if you smoke or if you drink a lot, or if you eat sweets a lot, that type of thing. Those are going to be probably easier. If you're very healthy and you don't have a lot of unhealthy habits, bad habits, maybe you have a typical ADHD habit of losing things, for example. All right, let's take the example of the alcohol, because I think that one is, most of us can relate to it. So drinking alcohol, it can be a very bad habit in terms of it doesn't take much, especially with the latest research, to show that it definitely can harm your health. So when you're drinking, what makes it so easy to grab a beer or wine or a cocktail? It is pleasurable for the most part, right? Especially the first drink or two. So that's going to be the first component. You generally enjoy it. It has low resistance. So this is a huge concept that I want you to consider when you're thinking about forming a good habit. So I get this idea from James Clear, who wrote an awesome book called Atomic Habits. So I recommend the book highly, and it's pretty good for people with ADHD. So low resistance, drinking's easy. I mean, it's really easy. You just have to have some at home, a supply, or if you're out, you just order one, and you open that can or you open that bottle, pour yourself a drink, and that's about it. There's many places that you can drink. You can drink at home, you can drink in restaurants, you can drink in bars, you can drink at festivals. I mean, nobody's really telling you not to drink in the way that, like, say, if you were maybe at one time using marijuana and you had to keep it secret or that type of thing. So there's low resistance. It's also pleasurable, and it also is very repeatable. Drinking is very easy to repeat. You can kind of integrate it into many different parts of your life. So those are some key things. So when we think about why do I have a bad habit, well, I would say the main thing to think about is a bad habit is just kind of easy to do. You don't have to work that hard at doing it. So keep that in mind as we now shift over to good habits. So let's talk about resistance. So I would say resistance is probably the biggest reason why we do not form a good habit. And the best example I can give you is how people on January 1st set a New Year's goal of going to the gym and working out all the time. I mean, I've done it too. It's an expensive thing to do, though, right? If you don't actually end up going to the gym. So what's really kind of crazy about this is people who own these gyms, they know this. So they basically just do their algorithm, knowing that they're going to have a whole bunch of customers who never even use their facilities except for a handful of times, maybe in the first 3 weeks of January. So why is there so much resistance? Well, when you think about going to the gym, I want you to visualize that. Going to the gym, just for a second. Did you visualize what I did, which is, oh man, gym bag, shower maybe, towel, what am I going to do when I get there, drive there? Now, for you guys that already have going to the gym as a habit, you've gotten to the point where you don't have resistance. You're just like, whatever, I go to the gym. It's who I am, right? It's part of who I am. So going to the gym, the resistance, the things that I mentioned, is what keeps a lot of people from returning after they tried it a few times. So what's the antidote for that? Well, let's keep going with the gym example. The antidote would be to lower the resistance. So here's a way to do that. You have the gym bag ready. That's kind of like a classic one, ready to go, ready by the door, the clothes that you need. You go at a time that isn't too crazy for you, so you're not battling traffic. Maybe you get a locker. It's usually an extra expense, but then you have things there, so that means maybe you don't need the gym bag. So those would be examples of lowering the resistance, okay? Now, here's another way to approach that. You are not going to be able to lower the resistance until you have built some kind of like micro habits to get to the bigger habit of going to the gym. So what James Clear suggests is kind of radical, but I want to also add to it a little bit of a warning with people for people with ADHD, that what he suggests might not always work for people with ADHD, and I want to give you that cautionary note. He says, break down any big habit into little habits. So that I agree with. But he really takes it to an extreme. So it's like, I think he calls it a micro habit. So we're talking about, he'll say like, just drive to the gym, but then don't go in. And do that for like 2 weeks. Kind of crazy, right? The point of that is that you're breaking something that just feels so overwhelming into little manageable parts. That part is good, but here's my cautionary note. When you have ADHD, you have to get some momentum. Excuse me. You have to get some early wins right away, or as a person with ADHD, you know this, you're just going to get bored. You're going to get bored with the habit, and then you're not going to do it. You got to keep that excitement up. So here's what I would say. Yes, break down your habit into little pieces, but not so little that you're not getting anywhere with it right away. So what I would do in that particular case, I would go to the gym and I would work out for 10 minutes, and that is it. I mean, literally, that is it. I would do 10 minutes, and then I would feel good about it. I would then pack up and I would go on my way. And I would probably do that, honestly, for at least 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, like assuming you're going like 3 times a week, okay? So then you're going to start to feel some success. And then when you're at the gym, then you're going to be like, okay, well, I did 10. I can do 15, okay? But I actually would resist the urge to do more than 10 for a certain amount of weeks and be very intentional about how many that's going to be. Let's just say 3 weeks, okay? All right, next thing. I want to say, how do you build some excitement around your habit? So, one of the things in the book, again, the book is called Atomic Habits, is he wants you to kind of like attach some pleasure to your habit. So here's what I'm going to suggest about that. When you do your 10 minutes of exercise, or when you do your 10 minutes of playing guitar practice, or your 10 minutes like me practicing Spanish every day, I want you to track it. And by tracking it, there's so many apps that you can use. I mean, there's ones, I think, Don't Break the Chain, where you just put a little X on your calendar. I guess that one was made famous by Jerry Seinfeld, where he would practice comedy every day and then put an X on his calendar. If you don't want to use an app, you can use an actual paper calendar. You can use tally marks. You can use a star like a teacher. I'm a teacher, so I always think of like a star. So what I want you to do is, as soon as you complete your habit, I want you to be like, almost like a pat on the back. Hey, man, I did it. I did my 10 minutes. I want you to track it. And then I'm going to take it a step further. Take those little tracking tally marks or stars or whatever you do, and I want each one of those to represent a dollar amount, maybe $1, okay? I want you to add them up. Then when you hit, like, I don't know, $30 or maybe a little less, maybe $20, I want you to just buy you something that feels a little like a luxury, something maybe you wouldn't usually buy. It's more just really just for you, okay? So that's how you can attach some pleasure to it. Now, if you want to build in a little bit of discipline, and I know that word is, for me, it's a scary word, having ADHD, just trying to use willpower and discipline, but there's some science behind what I'm going to say. So you have this habit that is difficult to do. you can apply this next principle and attach some pleasure to it in an immediate sense, it's going to help. So here's what this would be like. Hey, I love going on my phone and going to Reddit. And I actually do love going on my phone and going to Reddit. Or I love going on TikTok. And you know how that can really feel like a pleasure. It does something to our dopamine. So here's what you do. I'm going to make a deal with myself that I'm going to do those 10 minutes. I'm going to do that at the gym, okay? And then I'm going to reward myself immediately after, or maybe immediately when I get to work and I've done my gym, with a little extra TikTok or a little extra Reddit immediately after I do the task. All right, let's take this to a different example. Let's say you want to learn to play guitar. So you are at home and you're feeling like, I'm going to go on the couch and start scrolling on my phone, get those dopamine hits. So what you're going to do is, okay, 10 minutes of guitar is my habit. I'm committed to that habit. I'm being intentional about it. I'm going to go do the 10 minutes. So I play my guitar, I practice for 10 minutes. And then now I'm going to maybe just lay down on the sofa for a few minutes. I'm going to scroll on Reddit, TikTok, whatever I want to do for a few minutes there. That's my reward. And I'm going to check my calendar or my app that I did my habit. So you're building in some self-rewarding activities. And this is going to start making an association in your brain of like, when I do this good thing for myself, I feel good psychologically, and also maybe even like in a material way, like if you can do the earning the money thing that I mentioned. All right, let's go back to resistance for a moment. Now I want to use the guitar method, guitar habit, I mean. So you have this guitar, you're new at it. Now, here's the thing with the guitar. I know this from playing myself. There's some built-in resistance to getting that habit, and I'm going to tell you what it is. One of them is something you maybe haven't thought of, is having a bad guitar is going to be resistance. So whenever you have a musical instrument, what I have learned is do not buy the cheapest musical instrument, because that one is just going to make you resist the habit so much it's going to feel like terrible. So what I recommend is don't buy the cheapest one, definitely. Definitely maybe don't buy the most expensive one. You're starting something, right? Go for the medium. So now you've got your guitar. The next thing I'm going to tell you, lower the resistance by placing your guitar on a music stand. So you place your guitar on a music stand, you see it every day, it's a visual reminder, and you've lowered your resistance, right? You're not looking for it, you're not having to work so hard at it. All right, second thing, third thing, I guess, about the guitar. There is a point with playing with a guitar where it really can really kind of hurt your fingers. That causes a lot of people to just stop. So the way to kind of move around that one is to limit your playing time. Again, I think the 10 minutes is a great way to start any habit, okay? Also, you can use a certain kind of a softer string when you start out. So that would be another thing that you can do. So that's a good example with the guitar. Now, I want to start to kind of like apply a little bit of an ADHD lens on this. And for this next one, I'm going to talk about learning Spanish, sort of the ADHD way, which is my way. So I do all of the things that I just said in this video, which is I lower the resistance by making it easy for me to access the Spanish. Example of that is I have a list of podcasts in the notes section linked already in my phone that I can just click on, and that's going to give me instant access while I'm driving. I don't really have to look for it. Another thing is variety and keeping up the excitement. So the thing about having ADHD, as you know, we stop habits all the time, and we stop habits and hobbies all the time, and we spend money on them, and then we quit, and it's terrible, right? And it can feel very disruptive in your life. So with that being said, one of the things I've noticed is variety and excitement. The beauty of the world that we live in now with any habit is you have so much information available to you. So in the case of Spanish, oh my gosh, in the last 10 years, there's so many apps out there, podcasts, And I've even found like a wonderful video practice conversational group. So whenever I get bored, I just switch to another one of these platforms, and then I can return to it later. So being flexible for a person with ADHD, you have to be flexible, because the minute you feel like you're sticking to this crazy, hard, strict schedule, that's such a turnoff for anybody with ADHD. It just makes us like almost in a way like sort of forget everything that our goals and everything that we worked on. So whatever that habit you have is, exercise, learning guitar, Spanish, anything, what I want you to do is I want you to think about that you build in some excitement around in variety, so that you approach it in different ways, not always the same way. So just with the Spanish, on a Monday and a Tuesday, I'm driving to work, it's a podcast. When I get home, it's go on Duolingo. On Saturday, I have an opportunity to meet with an actual speaking group. It's through Facebook. So all of that variety kind of keeps me on my toes, keeps me going. And then in addition to that, actually I just arrived at work. I have a big Latino community where I live here in California, so I can speak with them too, and I can practice. All right, I want to just end with a parting thought. And this is one of my favorite things that James Clear talks about. So he basically says when you do these things, when you're intentional, and when you lower resistance, and when you make it fun, and things like that, you start to feel like this. He says, I am the type of person who blank, whatever habit. So for example, I no longer resist the Spanish thing. I'm a type of person who actually likes learning Spanish and likes to do it almost every single day. I'm the type of person who loves the guitar, and I enjoy playing it almost every single day. So when you start to feel like it's part of you, that's when you really don't have to try so hard anymore, which is going back to the bad habit, why it works so easily. For example, if I'm a drinker, I'm the kind of person who likes to drink. I do it almost every day. You see how it works for the bad habits, kind of like by accident. So I'm hoping that you did get something out of this video. I do recommend that book. I'm not trying to sell his book. I just think it's great. Atomic Habits, and you can read it in like little bits and pieces. I think he's also done some podcasts and some TED Talks too, James Clear. But pick your habit today that you want to work on. Make an intention. And I didn't even say, when are you going to do it? That's important too. Like, are you going to do it at 3 o'clock? Are you going to do it before work? So add that to the list of things that are important about building a habit, and have a great day. Thank you.